On today's show, Yonel Devico tells us about his journey starting a no business after graduating from Columbia University and how he grew his portfolio to over 100 million assets under management. Find out how he's been able to rub elbows with the business powerhouses such as Grant Cardone, Richard Branson, and Ty Lopez. Yonel is currently living in the great state of Florida and has invested in all types of residential and commercial real estate assets. His career highlights include the acquisition of over 1,200 real estate mortgage loans and 300 single-family rentals. His experience and knowledge can lead you to success. Thanks for coming on today. I've been investing in real estate for about 18 years and investing in notes for 8 years. And I first got an email from you 5 years ago. So how did you get into the note business, and have you been investing in notes way before 5 years ago?
Hi, Joe. Very nice speaking today. Yeah, so I started investing in notes back in 2011. At that time, I just graduated from Columbia University in a program, in a real estate development program, and I wanted to just be like a real estate developer. So I ended up buying a loan on a fractured condo project in New York City. This is how I started buying like notes, and since then I've mostly only bought like mortgages on all classes of class of assets.
And did somebody that was how did you learn to get into the note business? Was it through friends, family?
So it was really like by chance. I had an attorney that had experience buying notes, and I hired one of the like oldest foreclosure attorney in New York. His name is Bruce Bergman, and he's very famous because he is writing a lot of books on foreclosure and so on. So I hired him so he can walk me through like the process of the foreclosure and so on. And since then, I've been trying to educate myself and speak with very knowledgeable people just like you.
Thank you. So a fractured condo project, is this something that was a project that somebody tried to condo out an existing building back in the 2000s, or can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so it was a condo construction loan. So the borrower like took the money to build a condo building in the city, and 2008-9 hit, and he was not able to get more draws, and he was not able to finish the project. So the building was mostly done, besides some of the interiors, some of the kitchens and like flooring and so on. And so someone had to finish this project.
So did you guys have to take the property back and complete the work, or how did that work out?
So that was the plan, but what happened is that while I was like reinstating the plans and also working through getting to foreclosure done, I spoke with like a few brokers who told me that they could like sell that project for a lot more than what I paid, and so I negotiated with the borrower like a deed in lieu of foreclosure, and it was really hard to negotiate with him because courts were like kind of slow at that time. And not that they're like much faster today, but
New York's definitely a long time, right? New York takes a while.
Exactly, and luckily, just like a month after buying the note, I get the final judgment from the court, and I say, well, it's so easy. You buy the note, you get the judgment, you go to auction, and that's it. So the borrower wanted to file for Chapter 11 to try to reorganize the debt or try to like save his building, but I just settled with him with some cash for keys, and I think that was the easiest like workout I ever had. That was my first loan.
So you got you got excited and you wanted more, I guess, from there.
Exactly. So I started like investing like my personal money and so on, like on like loans on single family. I was not doing that like full time, but I just was I liked it, and started buying loans like in Florida, buying loans in New York as well, and and then I started like scaling this up.
That's cool. I know one of the key points everyone makes is you make the money when you buy an asset, right? So therefore, you have to underwrite it properly. Where did you learn how to underwrite it, or did somebody teach you, or did you have a coach, mentor?
So actually, I think that my master in real estate development at Columbia University taught me a lot about like underwriting all class of assets. Not necessarily a lot about like single family, but when you like know how to use Argus and underwrite like an office building, you should know how to underwrite like a single family home and do some market studies. So I just learn it by like myself, trying to use like databases, speaking with brokers and so on, reviewing a lot of like BPOs and so on. That's how I like learn how to underwrite it. And you're right, it's the most important thing when you buy a note is to know what's the value of the collateral.
Now, over the years, I've found that there isn't very many coaches or somebody out there to help you when it comes to underwriting loans. I mean, it's similar to the real estate, but there's different aspects that you have to count for, time frames. Kind of give us some insight into how your education from underwriting real property went into underwriting loans.
So like when you underwrite a loan, you need to underwrite a few things like the the property itself. What is it worth? Because at the end of the day, you might end up with the property. Number two, the legal aspect of the associated with the note and how long it will take you and how much it is going to cost you to get to a resolution, either like a modification or a foreclosure, an auction, or anything like that. And three, with the borrower, like what type of credit score they have, what type of like assets, is it their first house, their only house, is it their they have any other houses, do they have any other assets, are they just here to drag a foreclosure, or they're like, do you think that they might want to work out something? So it's important to like underwrite those three aspects.
In sourcing that deal, relationships are very important. And over the years, I've found that I met people through the mortgage conferences, introductions from those people at the conference, other sellers, other funds. Where did you find the leads, or where did you find the loans to even analyze for your first deal and the deals ever since?
So the first deal was brought to me by a broker very, very like randomly, who knew that I was looking for like development deals, and he told me like, this is a development deal, but the problem is that you have to buy the loan, not the property. And that was the second time it happened. The first time it happened, I was offered that. Everyone told me to not buy like a mortgage because it takes time to get it. But at the end of the day, when you buy the mortgage, you get it at like a discount that you might not get in the market. So I've worked a lot with like larger brokers, smaller brokers too, but also like personal relationships. So after doing that so many years, a lot of people are in the market and know that I'm buying those type of deals, and they just send them to me when they're ready. We also have a good relationship with some lenders that know that we can act very fast and buy the loans that they want to get rid of. So it's great for them because we provide them like liquidity, and they can focus on whatever they like and they enjoy doing, which is like originating loan and collecting interest.
So any tips maybe to give the listeners that where they could go and maybe find their first few loans they would want to buy to get into the game?
Yeah, so I would call like Joe Roberts. I will call Joe Roberts first because he's a good source of loans, and so other loan investors are a very good source of like buying loans, and they might take more time to explain things, and because they want to sell, some of them might want to sell their loans, or they're going to direct you to people that can help you doing that, or some type of like education or webinars or so on. So I would like call the some people that are in the industry because I think they're just a good source.
Yeah, I mean, definitely come up with a good intro and a resume and hit up the people on LinkedIn. Use the keyword search. Just the other week, I did it myself. It's been a while, but I hit about 10, 12 people at the same place and finally got that person to answer. So we'll see where that goes. So what else, over the last 5 years, what type of assets have you been investing in?
So I think that I've invested in most of the like real estate real estate assets. So like I've done like single family, multifamily, land, hotel, office, retail, unfortunately. And I did also like recently I've done like billboards. Like I've never done like cell towers, or I haven't done like senior housing, because I think it requires a lot of like management and like knowledge on like that type of asset. But like I will do that partnering with senior housing with a senior housing investors.
I know you first came to us, I believe, buying the New York only junior liens. Is that correct?
Probably.
Yeah, I think that's how we seen you come onto the scene, and there wasn't too many people, emailing us just for New York. So you were able to clean up the house from everybody, right? And kind of make your way around to the different funds and acquire those type of assets, or?
Yeah, we've bought a bunch of like second junior mortgages, and I mean it's an interesting play. It's between like the first mortgage and unsecured. So it's kind of in the middle. So it's definitely very risky, and but can be also like very like profitable.
So out of all the assets that you've invested in, what's your favorite? I mean, if you could just pick a steady flow, what's your favorite?
Probably a first mortgage on single family, because you sleep well at night. The value is not going to like go down a lot, even in like those difficult times, or like where there's a lack of liquidity. So, and you also know that you can rent it. You can rent the asset. That's your worst case scenario. So if you underwrite a rental exit strategy and it works, then even if there is no buyer, there will be most likely renters, either like people that were like living in apartment buildings, or people that were that lost their houses and don't have a good like credit score. Or you also have all government programs that will pay for the tenants, like Section 8, veterans, and so on. I know in Puerto Rico you mentioned to me that there are a lot of federal programs, federal and state programs that pay for the rent. So single family is definitely one of the best assets today, I think.
That's good. Over the years, I've transitioned, or let's change it up a little to residential, to commercial, first liens, second liens, kind of just based on the opportunity and pricing. It seems like you're a similar opportunistic buyer, right? I mean, just if you could basically wrap your head around it, underwrite it, and get it at a good price, you'll buy it.
And that's right.
And so where do you, how are you, managing deal flow this year? What are you buying? How are you managing risk? And where do you see the market going over the next 2 years?
So I'm going to focus mostly on like single family and multifamily at this point, because I think that the commercial space, like office, retail, and so on, needs some type of reset in pricing. We don't know how to value those today. We don't know if like tenants are going to like stay there. What cap rate is it going to trade at? Would like bank finance that? How do you value a hotel today? Like I have no clue. I have no clue. There's no cap rate. There's no occupancy. There's nothing. So, and there's not even replacement cost. You can buy probably at 50% of replacement cost, but you'll be still losing money. I mean, I've been to North Dakota underwriting like hotels there, and I can tell you when there's no more oil there, the hotel is not worth much. You just pay taxes and insurance. That's it. Um, so so we're going to focus mostly on like single family and multifamily, just because I think there's a shortage of like still inventory. Hard to replace them today. Um, the like the the American dream of owning a house is just getting amplified right now because people don't want to be living in like big multifamily buildings where they're sharing the elevator with them and like amenities with them. They want their own backyard, their own swimming pool, and they want to space. And there is maybe no more need of being so close to the city because now a lot of people can work online.
There's
So
there's been a lot. I think we've seen in the news a lot more the last 5 years. A lot of these newer residential single family communities being built just for rental purposes. What do you think about that? And do you think a lot of the larger funds are going to buy those up from the developers, or what do you see?
so I think that a lot of a lot the in 2008 there were no like funds set up to buy single family and rent them. I invested in like in a platform that was buying single family and renting them, and it was one of the first one. The financing was not there, so like banks didn't know how to finance them, how to underwrite them, how to manage them. A lot of people were thinking it was impossible to manage them, and then you have huge funds like Blackstone or Colony who came up with financing, securitization platform and tried to buy everything. So cap rate went overnight from like 12% to like 6% because they were securitizing those like rental uh, stream of income at like lower rate. Now those guys they went public. They proved their model, and they also have access to a cheaper cost of capital to buy those. So I expect to see some cap rate compression on the single family rental product, which will make single family a very difficult product to buy at auction or on the MLS and so on. So everything that will make sense for those guys, they would just like buying them and create like an even bigger shortage of like single family houses.
I definitely think the concept of these rent-only new communities, single-family communities, is great, right? I mean, if you could buy 100 or build 100, 300 units and have proper management, but they're single-family units, I mean, that's, I think, a winner.
Yeah, it's great because you buy them like ready to be rented. They don't need a lot of capex. They're they're easier to manage because they're in the same like community. So I know in Florida, I know a bunch of people doing that too, like building that, and they're selling blocks of those houses. So it's easier also for larger like REITs to buy them because they can buy 100, 200, 300 at the same time, opposed to one by one. So I think it's going to create some a lot of traction.
Well, speaking of Florida, there's been a lot of reports out this year, and I think by U-Haul that Florida's number one or always in a race with Texas or something for the highest number of net migration people, right? Everyone's getting the hell out of the Northeast or wherever and coming down to Florida. What's your whole opinion on that? How's that going to affect the markets over the next decade, and where are people going?
So it's very interesting because I moved to Florida from New York over like about 4 years ago, and And I can tell you, I speak with a lot of people from the Northeast. They all want to move to Florida. So before it was just the cold that was bothering them. Then it was the salt and all the like the state tax, high state tax they cannot deduct anymore. Then it was de Blasio letting like homeless people in the street, so they don't want to deal with that. And now it's COVID, so now there are like 4 reasons to move to other states like Florida, Texas, or so on, where they have maybe a better quality of life and they can work remote. So I see a lot of people like moving to Florida. Just like I hear a lot of people moving from California to Texas or Nevada because of tax for tax reasons. So I think it's going to be growing a lot, and it will support also like pricing of like single family houses.
So what is your opinion on the best areas in Florida? Where do you see the most people going, or where do you believe that prices are going to go up the most over the next 10 years?
That's a good question. So best area, I think it's Miami, obviously. But like, I mean, like I like a lot of like areas in Florida, like the Palm Beach area, not necessarily like the area where like houses are like 3 million and up, but like West Palm Beach has beautiful houses and not so expensive. I purchased like a loan on a house in that area. A house is worth like 700,000. You get like 3,200 square feet, and you live on a golf course or like in the middle of like with like horses around. I think it's pretty nice. Or you have like the West Coast, like Naples is beautiful and have very nice like houses. Then you have like Orlando, which attracts a lot of companies, and I think it's one of the fastest growing like city in America. So I think a lot of like there are a lot of good cities in like Florida. Anywhere from like Palm Beach to like Miami is growing a lot.
Cool. So I noticed over the last few years, you hanging out with different influencers, right? Or, at different events, or I met you at some of the events, what's your purpose for showing up to those, or how did you get engaged with these people or meet them?
So, okay, can I tell the names or it's better not to tell the names?
Yeah, of course. Edit that. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I mean, you got Ty, Grant, Sir Richard Branson. I mean, those are only 3 that I've seen, in and around something, right?
Yes. Okay. Okay. So I've been, so I was just curious to know what they were like had to offer, what they were like saying, how they were motivating people, how they were attracting people. So the first time I went to see Grant Cardone, it was probably like a year or 2. I think and we met at that event. So a friend of mine told me, "Why don't you come to see Grant Cardone?" I said, "Okay, why not? It's in Miami. Let me just go and see what he has to offer." And it was impressive to see how he was motivating people. Um, how he was motivating people and how he was trying to help people to like build their businesses. Same for Tony Robbins. I never heard about Tony Robbins until last winter when a friend of mine invited me to attend with him Tony Robbins event, and I was impressed by the effect he has on people and how people come from all over the world to see him. I mean, I met a classmate from undergrad school in France there by chance. So he came from France to attend that. I said, wow, like he really like has some type of event, and he's keeping people alert and focused for like 3 days nonstop.
Nobody fully understands the amount of work, effort, and years it takes to get to that kind of level where they could bring that kind of crowd and, you know, just motivation and high level of energy to one place, right?
That's right.
I mean, there's a lot to learn from that, you know, learn from them, learn how they put it together, you know, I mean, and take different aspects and put it into your business.
That's right. Your business or like sometimes like personal life.
Yeah. So let's go into, you know, what I think is important is what are some of the biggest mistakes maybe that you've made in your investing career that one can learn from, or some things that people should not do?
um, so I think that you always have to verify everything in due diligence. When you purchase like a mortgage or a property or so on, you have to verify every single point to make sure, because you cannot believe brokers telling you it's the best investment in the world when they don't necessarily know what issues this investment may have, or they didn't check themselves what problems the loan might have. So you have to check everything yourself in a due diligence.
Yeah. So all the listeners, make sure you do all your own due diligence. Don't listen to the seller. Take their information, verify it yourself. Always have a lawyer. Spend the extra money up front on due diligence. I know through the process that sometimes you want to save money and it just bites you in the end.
That's right.
Agreed?
I agree.
You know, spend the money on title work, BPOs, whatever it may be on the asset that you're buying, and it'll pay off in the long run. Well, you know, I want to thank you for coming out today. And what is the best way for the listeners to get a hold of you?
LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me. So Yonel Devico on LinkedIn.
All right, guys. Thank you for showing up today.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching my latest interview. If you like what you saw, please click the subscribe button below to become a member of the Joe Robert community. Be sure to hit the bell to turn on all notifications so you always know when I post a new video. Tell me what you thought about the content in the comments below. I always read them and would love to answer any of your questions.